Hi folks, welcome to my regulars and anybody new who's walked through the door. There's a word in the dictionary that means an instant or spontaneous liking to something or an empathy with it as well. It's also associated with marriage relationships versus blood ties as well. And maybe that word has been used because of the ingredients here and how they actually merge together or go hand in hand. And that word is affinity. So in this episode of Hit the Mahogany, we are going to be doing the Affinity Cocktail. Now this cocktail started out back in the 1920s. And there was an article that was written in the New York Sun on Monday, the 28th of October 1907. And I'm going to read this article to you. And this is how the drink was described, this cocktail was described back then. There's another new cocktail on Broadway. They call it the Affinity. After drinking one, surviving experimenters declare their horizon takes on a roseate hue. The second brings Wall Street to the front and centre, proffering to you a quantity of glistening lamb shearings. When you've put away the third, the green grass grows up all around, birds sing in the fig trees, and your affinity appears. The new ambrosia contains 3 ingredients: 1 medium teaspoon of powdered sugar, 1 dash of orange bitters, 1 jigger of Scotch whisky, and half a jigger of Italian vermouth. These are shaken in cracked ice, cocktail fashion, until thoroughly blended and cooled, then strained and quickly served. So certainly an interesting list of ingredients back then. And then it did get adjusted over time, and in Harry Craddock's book, the standard ratios that we know of today are the ones that are mostly used. Now what are those ratios? Well, it's 1 ounce of whiskey, 1 ounce of sweet vermouth, and 1 ounce of dry vermouth. And then you've got a few dashes of bitters in there as well. So, do these ingredients all marry together? Now there's a few plays that you can make on this, but I'm going to go with the current ratio, and we'll use the orange bitters versus Angostura bitters as well. Let's get started then pulling this one together. Now the whiskey that I'm using, this is a non-age statement. This is Highland Park full volume. It's a great whiskey. Now, it may be non-age statement. Now for Scottish whiskey to be Scottish whiskey, it has to be aged for a minimum of 3 years in oak barrels. But when you're buying a non-age statement whiskey, there's no way it's just 3 years old. I remember when we were visiting China, we were in Xi'an, and I met a Scottish guy there, and what he was doing is he was taking basically 3-year-old whiskey, and he was shipping that back over to China, and he was selling it to the consumers there, and they loved it. But I think we like something that's a little bit more aged. So what you're going to find is that even although it's minimum 3 years, this is going to have varying ages in it. And it could be close to maybe 10 years. So anything 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe even older in there as well. Depending on what they've actually been doing as they taste and sample the casks, which ones are the ones that are actually going to maybe go into maybe the 18-year-old. Maybe some of them won't actually meet the requirements or the specifications. They're looking to get that flavour that they want for their 18-year-old, trying to keep it the same so that everybody experiences it. So maybe they're going to use that in another whiskey itself, or another expression that they have there. Anyway, enough about that. All right, so equal ratios. 1 ounce of whiskey. Now you can try different whiskies as well. You know, there's different ones here. You know, and maybe even some of Islay ones, maybe something a little bit more smoky. You can try whatever you want here. All right, 1 ounce, and I'm making 2 of the whiskey. And what you'll see here is because this isn't aged as long in the oak, it's a slightly lighter hue to it versus something that's aged a little bit longer. I was going to take a little shot of that actually because it is nice. There are a few whiskies out there that are mixing whiskies as well. I think Glenmorangie has one that they actually call it a mixing whiskey as well. Alright, we're going to use our Dolan sweet vermouth, or red rouge as it is. So that's going to be 1 ounce for each one, so that's 2 ounces in total. Yeah. And then we're going to use our dry vermouth, less sugars in it. Wonder why it's called dry then, eh? Alright, 1 ounce of each for each one, so that'll be 2 ounces in total. Go there. Bitters, we're going to use orange bitters. You can use Angostura bitters, but I'm going to use the orange ones here. And it's 2 to 3 for each one dashes. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll put another one in for good luck. Oh. Bitter, but citrus at the same time. Okay, not shaken. We are stirring this one. So we need to chill it down. Get some ice. Alright, now what you're doing is you're chilling and you're diluting as well, okay? So we'll do this for about 30 seconds. Okay, there we go. Oh, nice and chilled. Glasses. Use cocktail glasses, maybe like a martini glass, a Nick and Nora, something like this would actually do the trick as well. I like these ones, a nice little balance, sort of like a mixture between a cocktail and a Nick and Nora. A good size for a cocktail. This little sipper that can be before dinner and after dinner. Just strained out. Pretty perfect on the size there, actually. There we go. Now you're going to see different options for garnish. Twist of lemon, cherry. We're going to go with the cherry. I love these, the Luxardo Maraschino cherries. Oh my goodness, absolutely fantastic. Get that one in there. And this one in there. There we have it. There are our Affinity cocktails. Nice looking colour there. Pale, but there's still a richness to it. Oh, I just noticed here actually. Sorry, I'll need to go for this. It's my Highland Park tote when I was up there buying at the beginning of the year actually. Got their tote for carrying everything out. Alright. Shall we see if these ingredients have an affinity? Or if I have an affinity with this as well. Alright. Let's see if I can get this up to my mouth without spilling it all over the place. Bloody hell. Honestly, I get surprised constantly how such simple things can create such delicate, complex, and very just, quite frankly, enjoyable flavours. Alright. Whiskey. It's there. It's the base. It's the background. Come on. I can tell. It's fucking Scottish. Come on. It's clearly something. There's takes you back to the rolling hills a little bit there, you know. But sweet vermouth brings it up. A little bit more of that fruit flavour coming through with respect to that. Maybe a little bit of a raspberry or something. You know, that's going to change depending on what type of vermouth, red vermouth that you're going to use. But then, the dry vermouth, it's sort of, it stretches, how do I describe this? It almost stretches the drink out a little bit more. It's a light flavour that's being added. A little bit of dryness. And it just kind of extends it out so it's not quite as strong, I think, and the dry vermouth is doing a great job with that, and it's not lost. There's almost a, you know what? It was interesting as we read that, you know, and I don't know whether, you know, it said when you've put away the third, the green grass grows up all around, birds sing in the fig trees, and your affinity appears. Is that because you're lying face up in the middle of a park? Or is it because of the flavours that are coming through there? There's a grassiness that comes through, I think, from the dry vermouth there. And then a little bit of the orange bitters. Comes in at the back here, just a little bit of the dry vermouth and the bitters kind of, it's not bitter, but it's like a dryness of tannins that comes in at the end, which leaves a very clean aftertaste in the mouth as well. It just lingers very, very nicely. Wow, this is friggin' awesome. I say that so much about so many of these. I definitely now have an affinity for this. There are a few options out there. See people kicking it up to maybe 2 ounces of whiskey, half an ounce of the vermouths each. And that would certainly make it more whiskey forward. But maybe again, if you're trying to introduce people to whiskey-based cocktails, this is a good one. It's there, you got that flavour, but it's not overpowering. It's a good baseline for it. Anyway, give this one a try, seriously. I suspect there's going to be a few people will have an affinity for the Affinity Cocktail. All right, however, what ratios you use, enjoy your one, and cheers. That's delicious.